Looking for work? Patton's Home Furnishings has a position open for a furniture and appliance delivery and installation person. 20 to 30 hours per week, including Saturdays, are required. You must have a valid, clean New York State driver's license, be dependable, and look neat and presentable. Heavy lifting is required for this position. Apply in person between 9 and 4 daily. Come join the Patton's team. Patton's Home Furnishings is an equal opportunity employer.
Time now for Viewpoint. Here's WDOE News Director Dave Rowley.
And welcome to Viewpoint. Today we have two members of the Dunkirk Common Council. From the 1st Ward, we have Don Williams, and from the 4th Ward, Mike Civiletto. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And we once again want to welcome our friends at Access 12, and they'll be carrying that at some future point.
Yeah, he was just telling us he's going to be at 4 o'clock today. He's going to be showing it on Access 12, which can now be seen at 1301 because Spectrum had changed to all digital, and that's where you can find it, 1301.
1301. Okay. Well, we have a lot of things going on in the city of Dunkirk and some real positive things. Wright Park, renovation work underway, the groundbreaking taking place very recently on a very cold, but it was a nice sunny day. I know, Mike, you were there, and Don,
I wasn't able to be there.
You weren't.
I was in Cleveland for my mother's procedure out there.
And hopefully she's
doing well. She's home. She's doing well, recovering fine.
Well, Mike, the groundbreaking, and both of you certainly can. This is a project that has been many years in the making. It's finally taking place. How important are parks like Wright Park to the city of Dunkirk?
Well, to me, the parks are basically what keeps. Is one of the aspects that keeps people here when they graduate from high school, if they're going to come back from college. I know personally, I left, and one of the reasons, amongst others, was that I left was at the time I kept seeing that everything having to do with children, everything having to do with recreation, and having to do with the quality of life in Dunkirk was being taken away. And this was in the late 80s, early 90s. We had seen the swimming pool closed. We had seen the volleyball courts closed. We had seen playgrounds knocked down and not rebuilt. So it was something that I thought to myself, if I'm going to have children and I want to raise them here, what are they going to do? Everything's being taken away. So this is one thing that we can point to that can say, look, we care about your quality of life. And quality of life is really important when you're talking about keeping jobs or someone deciding to stay here. It could be the deciding factor when they're on the fence about whether they want to stay in their hometown or leave.
How important is this project to you, Don?
It's very important.
It's in your ward.
Yes, it is. I'm glad that they're doing some improvements down there. It's going to look great when it's done, and it's going to give something for families and people to go and hang out and have a great time over there. And like Mike said, it's definitely going to improve the quality of life for residents of the city of Dunkirk and surrounding.
Another issue I wanted to touch on, the HUD Regional Director, Lynn Patton, was in Dunkirk last Friday, and she made a tour not only of Dunkirk, the city of Dunkirk, but also the city of Jamestown, and saw firsthand a number of projects that are benefited through the Community Development Block Grant Program. And I know this has been a real challenge trying to keep this funding in place. She seems to be an advocate for this. What are your impressions? How important is this? I know Mayor Rosas had some input. She was looking for input from both mayors from Dunkirk and Jamestown.
Yeah, from what I understand, the visit was very critical to both of the cities in Chautauqua County, and there's going to be some changes and maybe some different allocations, greater allocations, hopefully, of the money that's put in from HUD then to the cities.
And we rely on these funds for all kinds of different projects that we do. We're currently getting about $250,000 a year. That number is significantly less than what we used to get, which I believe it was in the $400,000 to $500,000 range in years past. We're talking like 5-6 years in the past. So it was really important for someone to actually see what these things do, what these grants do to the community and do for the community.
And I think she indicated next month we may actually find out what the new funding levels will be for these two cities.
Yeah, the funding was threatened earlier in the budget process. It was threatened by Congress. And she says that the president fought for it. I hope that's true. She touted that he's a developer and that these funds are things that he would be interested in. So that's a great thing if that happens. The point that it was threatened in the first place is the thing that scares me. That something this important and vital to many communities throughout the United States was even talked about.
I want to talk a little bit about the cold storage facility, and I understand this project is right on track. The county IDA has taken some steps, so as well as the city of Dunkirk. What is the status of this project?
We had our DPW committee meeting yesterday, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. That everything's in place. All the okays for the go ahead have been satisfied, so they should be starting anytime now if they haven't already.
Yeah, and that's in my ward, and I'm very excited about it. I talked about this years ago when I was just a community activist and asked why the county was letting it go as far as aesthetically, wondering how they thought that they could sell a piece of property that they were letting get overgrown and not taken care of. I still hold the county responsible for the way that it looked and the way that it looks now, and the fact that we had it became a dumping ground. So I'm still upset about the way that it made my ward look, because the county neglected their responsibility to keep it up. But now that there's an actual developer coming in to work it, hopefully those days are behind us.
I want to add too that a lot of people probably don't know the work that Mayor Rosas has done to make sure that facility was in the city of Dunkirk.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been because of the relationship that Mayor Rosas has with Fieldbrook Foods that's why it's going to be in the city of Dunkirk. Many developers that were going to build it for them for their storage were possibly being swayed to go outside of the city, and it was the mayor's dogged determination to make sure that was built right inside the city limits.
And
so,
truthfully, it might have been easier to go outside the city limits with the hoops that these developers have to jump through, basically, between citizens' comments and city regulations. But just the fact that they needed a lot of land, and city's only so big, and it doesn't get any bigger. The boundaries are the boundaries. So we didn't have a large swath of land. So this was a good fit.
And plus, it could lead to more jobs. You're looking 6 to 10 jobs with the project, but it could generate more jobs down the road with Fieldbrook Foods.
Right, and that opens up right now, from what I understand, they're currently using parts of their facility for some storage. So once they can move that out and put it into the cold storage building, then that opens up room for actual production lines, which means jobs there too then.
Another topic, speaking of the DPW committee, I know there was discussions about potholes, and it does look like there may be additional state funding available.
Yes, our Director of Public Works, Randy Woodbury, mentioned to us yesterday that there were 3 different streams of money that that were coming in from the rough winter that we had, and the CHIPS money is being reallocated to us. So there should be a little bit more money in that pot that we can use to get some streets done. And they're going to be working on the potholes. They've already been filling the potholes with the winter mix, and those have been holding up pretty well. And then the other ones that they're going to get for a final thing with it, they're going to put the blacktop over it as soon as the blacktop plant opens. And I think Randy said that they're going to be opening sometime next week.
Yeah, and Randy talked about adding another shift, so make sure that it's more than 8 hours of work on the roads. And he also made a comment, we've had a super rough winter we had actually 6 months in between a 70-degree day and the next 70-degree day. The last 70-degree day and the first 70-degree day of the year was 6 months. So we've had a 6-month winter, if you consider 60-degree weather still winter. But it's been rough, and it's been rough all over the whole Northeast. Every city is dealing with this, but they've been really working hard on trying to find the time and find the manpower to get out there and to start these constructions.
Is the city looking at doing more permanent work down the road as far as repaving work? Is that something that the city is taking a serious look at?
Yes, we asked about that yesterday at the DPW committee meeting, and the director and the engineer are going to go around and look at the roads, and plus he wanted all the council members to go and look at their streets and get back to them, and then there's going to be a determination on which ones that we're going to be able to do.
Yeah, and I want to let my friends on Nevins Road know that I'm trying as hard as I can to get that road paved.
Yes.
It's an old brick road that's really in really bad shape, and believe me, it's at the top of my list, and hopefully I can get it at the top of the DPW's list as well.
How does the DPW go about, do they do a rating of each street to determine which ones really get repaired or repaved?
That's what we've been asking the DPW director and the engineer to come up with a list of the roads that they think are in the worst condition, and rate them like you said, rate them from the worst to this one might be able to last another few years.
Yeah,
add Willow Road to the mix. There are a couple of real bumpy spots.
You could say almost every road in the city,
Yeah.
and I've actually gone through my ward and looked at every single road, and I've made my own list and said, okay, look, these are the top 3. These are the ones that really need it. These are sections that are really bad, and Randy Woodbury really appreciates that from councilmen if they can get those lists, and I took pictures and sent them to him, because he can't. That's 52 miles, is it? 52 miles of road. So to go through every single street is really time consuming. So the less time that they can make actually rating the roads, the more that they can actually get out there and actually do the work.
Got about 2 minutes left on Viewpoint. Wanted to touch on this proposal, and I assume this is going to be on the ballot at some point, of going from a 2-year term for council members to a 4-year term. And this came up at a recent Common Council meeting.
The last Common Council meeting we had, there was a resolution sponsored by Councilman Bomano and me. And at that time, prior to that, there's been people asking, why is it just 2 years? And, the mayor's term is 4 years. Why don't you just go to 4 years? So I don't know myself if I'm for the 2 years or for the 4 years, but I am for letting the voters of the city of Dunkirk decide whether the council should be a 2 or 4 year term. So with that in mind, we want to push it forward and put it out to the voters of the city of Dunkirk and let them decide. There should be a referendum on there. I'm assuming that this is going to pass on the next meeting on May 1st after the public hearing that we have prior to it. And again, there's not much that can be said that's going to tell me that I shouldn't leave it to the voters of the city. It's not like our vote is final and it goes to 4 years. Then I'd probably need to listen a little bit more. But we're talking about democracy. So I want to put it out to the voters of the city of Dunkirk, and I want to let them decide. Should it go to 4 years? Should it stay at 2 years? And I'm fine with either way that they vote.
And there's pros and cons to a decision like this. And this decision really, from our standpoint, is just, do we let the voters decide or not? It really is what it is. There was an article in the newspaper about this, and I kind of took offense to the headline. It said "self above service," and that they should know better to say something like that. We're putting it out as constituents have come to Don and Marty, and they have asked why, and Don and Marty have said, hey, let's let the voters decide. And now we're being accused of a power grab, I guess. But
consider the source, Mike. Consider the source.
Well, the thing is, we're never asked about it. And really, one of the biggest thing in my mind is, how much does it cost the taxpayer to put out an election? Elections are expensive, and they take up a lot of our time as far as going out and getting petitions and putting out lawn signs and doing fundraising and stuff, when I can actually be working on helping citizens during that time. So, there's pros and cons, but then you also have to think, hey, if you don't like your councilman, you're stuck with them for 4 years instead of 2. But let the voters decide, and don't accuse the councilman of going after a power grab. That to me was wrong.
So the council will take up this issue. It's tabled right now, so there may be a motion to bring it off.
I'll gladly make that motion at the meeting to bring it off the table, and I'm pretty confident we should have enough votes.
And then there's going to be a public hearing. So, truthfully, it's been out in the public for how long now? And I've not gotten one call about whether good or bad. I've asked constituents, how they feel about it, and I've gotten both sides of the story. But no one has been that upset that they called me about it. I think they realize, hey, if this is going up for a public hearing, they can make their voice known then. And there's a referendum, so they can really make their voice known then.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us on Viewpoint.
All right. Thanks for having us, Dave. And thanks for Cable Access 12 being here, too.
Don Williams, 1st Ward Councilman, Mike Ciboletto, 4th Ward Councilman, joining us on Viewpoint. I'm Dave Raleigh. Have a great day.